Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lindsay Birch, if we haven't met before. Today I want to be sharing with you about the Charlie Kirk effect on kingdom marriages. So by now most of you will have heard about the assassination and martyrdom of Charlie Kirk. Now, whether you agree with his views or not, this is a true modern day Christian martyr. So Charlie Kirk was a man who would go around to liberal university campuses and debate topics on politics and Christianity, and he would defend his faith boldly. He had an organization called Turning Point USA and just was really advocating for a lot of the Christian beliefs that have been under attack for a while in culture, especially in the United States and throughout the West in general. And a week ago today, he was assassinated while at one of these public debates out in the open and in front of his family, his wife and his young children. So this is the event that has taken place. Now, in the past week, many people have experienced shock and grief, and some people who didn't like Charlie Kirk have been posting online about how they're celebrating his death, which is really atrocious, to be honest, for a human to celebrate the death of another, even if they disagree with each other. There was nothing that Charlie ever did that was objectively wrong. Of course, he's a sinner, but in his public way of engaging with people, he was never hateful or abusive or anything. He was often shown to be very respectful, even with dealing with people who were attacking him to his face. And the things that people have been saying online in the past week, I've been following this pretty closely as it's been unfolding, and for the past week I've been just looking at people's posts online in their responses to what's taken place. A lot of people I've noticed have been saying that they're feeling this grief so deeply for this person that they have never met. He's not a friend or a family member. Maybe they've never met at one of his rallies. And yet a lot of people, whether they're Christians or maybe they were ambivalent before, a lot of people are saying that they're feeling this deep grief that they just don't understand. And I think in our culture, our society, we get so desensitized to death, to murder, to things like that because of the types of things that we see in media, whether it be movies or TV shows or the kind of music that we listen to, whatever it might be. A lot of people have tended to tune out the gravity of grief around death. And yet, for some reason, I believe that God has been allowing people to feel this grief very deeply for this person who they've never met. And as people have been saying this, they've also been saying to themselves and to the people who they're following online, what am I going to do with this information? I might have been a lukewarm Christian. I might have not really been reading my Bible or not really going to church as much, or maybe I'm just going through the motions, but I want to live in a way that makes the best use of my time here on earth. And so people have been saying that they're buying a Bible for the first time, they're opening their Bible for the first time in a long time or for the first time ever. Maybe they're going to church for the first time this past weekend. And a lot of people have been looking for ways to stand up and to take action. I was just reading earlier online that the Turning Point USA have in the past week received over 54,000 requests for individuals to join a chapter or to start a chapter in their local school or university of the Turning Point USA. And there's just this outpouring of people being woken up, shaken up, and wanting to stand up for their faith. Now, with Charlie Kirk's passing, of course, it is a terrible tragedy that this man would be treated this way, and his family having to go through this, and his friends experiencing this grief. But at the same time, I'm noticing people coming to realize that death is not the thing to be feared that we often think that it is. In this case, and quoting from Charlie Kirk, or paraphrasing at least from an interview that I saw, he was telling somebody that and I don't know how long ago this was, probably in the past few years, he was saying that he really wished that they could encourage there to be like 1,000 Bonhoeffers. And if you don't know much about Bonhoeffer, go check out his story. But essentially people who would be so willing to stand up for their faith in Jesus, even to the point of death. And it's just fascinating that he would be the first person to experience that. And now we have so many people standing up, following his lead, wanting to live a bold Christian life, even to the point of not worrying about where that will lead, not being afraid of how that will be received or what the ultimate outcome, the circumstances might be. So even though it is terrible that this has happened, I am just a little bit excited, to be honest, of the way that this is transforming culture in real time, transforming Christian culture, causing or unleashing a revival amongst lukewarm Christians or people who may not even have identified as Christian. There have been people online saying that they're not a Christian, they're an atheist, but now they're wanting to read the Bible, now they're wanting to go to church, these types of things. Some people saying that the lifestyle that they've lived, they have realized that they have been confused, and now they have been shaken out of that confusion and are living the life that God has originally designed for them to live, which is so exciting to see. And I want to hold this as gently as possible and express this as gently as possible, while also being excited that, yes, this man has died and there's a great deal of grief, but if you even see the interview that his widow has released a few days ago, saying that she, as a widow of this wonderful man, she has got a fire burning in her that will not be quenched. She will continue to pursue the ministries that he has started and been pushing forward, and she's not going to stay quiet. She's going to continue his legacy and push forward for the gospel. So even for herself, and for the people around her, and for each of us as individuals who have maybe been affected by this, I think there is such a deep work that God is doing in the body of Christ right now to shake us up, to wake us up, and to move us in the direction of living boldly for Jesus. Now, for myself, some of you who've been following me for a while know that I was posting weekly a while ago when I first started, and I've dropped off. I completely admit that I haven't been posting consistently in the last couple of years. It's been more like once a month than once a week for a lot of the time. And I know that I've been disobedient to God's calling on me, as far as how he wants me to show up online. And maybe for you, you know that God has been calling you to do something in particular. I want to encourage you to stop hesitating on whatever that thing is and be bold and do what God has called you to do. Now, there are a couple other things that I want to talk about in relation to kingdom marriages. As part of this Charlie Kirk effect, you may have heard of the Charlie Kirk effect and how people are basically saying the Charlie Kirk effect in my life is that, and it might be reading the Bible, going to church, living boldly for Christ, whatever it is. A lot of young men I've noticed online have been saying that they now want to pursue family and get married and have children and lead a family just like Charlie Kirk did, because one of the most valuable things that Charlie Kirk promoted was the Christian family as something that was a building block for United States American culture that needs to come back to rebuild the culture. Not that I personally particularly care about the US over any other country. I'm Australian. I love Australia, but hey, the West is the West. And I think this impacts the West equally and other areas of the world as well. Something that Charlie Kirk really emphasized was family. His wife says that he never raised his voice at her ever. He always treated her kindly, was always really intentional about becoming a better husband and a better father and asking her for ways that he could improve. And so that kind of example has been really impressive to a lot of young people. And a lot of young men I've noticed online have been saying, hey, I want to be that man. I want to step up and I want to lead a family in that kind of way, which I think is very exciting. Because for many of us here, you who've been following me, or maybe you're just coming across my videos for the first time, what I've been talking about here on this channel for the past few years, 5 years, a lot of them have been Bible stories, but there's been a particular emphasis on kingdom marriages on this channel as well. My very first video was about Isaac and Rebecca. I've talked about Ruth and Boaz and a bunch of other things as well, done interviews with my friends who God has led them and their spouse to be together in very specific, clear, directive ways. And I think what is happening right now with this Charlie Kirk effect is a turning point, once again, for a lot of the women who are praying for a godly husband and waiting for a godly husband and hoping and dreaming for a godly husband. I believe this is the time when things are going to shift. I believe that it is very important for you as a woman, if you're watching this and you've been waiting and hoping and praying, to pray even more right now in this turning point moment for a lot of people's lives, that the man that God has set aside for you will stand up in this time, will be inspired, will be impacted by the life of Charlie Kirk or the culture shift that is happening either way. I want you to pray for them to grow in the boldness that God has given them, and to be strong and courageous, and to have the vision for their lives, for their future families that God desires for them to have. Because it is when the man knows and has that kick to get moving, that he will be able to pursue you as his future wife. And this is something I've started praying in the last few days for myself, for my future husband, is, Lord, I pray that this Charlie Kirk effect is impacting my future husband, whoever he is, that this will cause him to wake up, to seek your guidance more, to live boldly for you if he is not already, and to pursue the family and the wife, myself, that you have for him. And so if you have been discouraged in the waiting season for however long you've been waiting, if you have been uncertain if this is God's plan for your life for you to get married, if this is ever going to take place, if you have been just discouraged and uncertain, let this be a moment for you to take heart and to be courageous and to pray bold prayers for your future husband. Pray for him to live the kind of life that God wants for him to have, and to pursue intentionally the way that God wants him to pursue. And I talk about this in relation to the Charlie Kirk effect because also the story of Charlie and Erica's first meeting. If you haven't heard that story, I'll give you a really brief synopsis. It's very much worth looking it up and checking out their story. But essentially, Erica had her own ministry where she sold shirts, and every shirt that she sold, they would give another shirt away to homeless people in New York. And so Erica and Charlie bumped into each other at some event. He found out about the stuff that she was doing. He reached out to her later, said, hey, I'd like to interview you for a position at our organization, Turning Point USA. And so they met up, had dinner together, and that dinner turned into a 3.5-hour conversation where she thought she was interviewing for an organization. That's what he initially planned. But by the end of it, after they talked about everything that they could think of, politics and all the different things, he sat back for a moment and she's like, did I get the job? Like, I don't really need it, but like, what's going on? And he said, look, I can't hire you for the position. And she's like, oh, okay, that's fine. And he said, because I want to date you. And she was like, oh, you sure you don't want to just be friends first and see how it goes? And he's like, no, I've got enough friends. I want to date you. So she's like, oh, can I have some time to think about it? And he's like, yeah, you've got 24 hours because I'll be taking you out to dinner tomorrow night and I want you to have a decision made then. And she was like, oh, okay. And so off they go. She walks home and she's like, Mom, yeah, I didn't get the job, but I think I got a boyfriend. And so that's the kind of intentionality that we're looking for from these future husbands, right? We're looking for a man who is doing ministry, whatever that looks like. It might not be being a pastor, it might be doing something else. It's a man who likes what he sees and he knows it and he knows what he wants and he goes after it and he's intentional and he says, hey, I don't need any more friends. I am looking for a wife. I would like to date you, right? That's a really cool example. Now, it may not look like that for you or for me specifically, word for word, like their example, but that's the type of intentionality that we're looking for from these people who are being impacted by this Charlie Kirk effect. So I want to just give you that vision so that you can pray for that and know that there are people out there who can behave that way and that can happen for you too. And I want you just to be encouraged and to be bold in your prayers and to be waiting with hope and a knowledge that God can do this and God is already moving on the hearts and the lives of so many people around the world. 54 applications just for chapter requests for organizations to be in local schools and universities of the Turning Point University, Turning Point USA. That's 54,000 young people saying, hey, I want to be a part of this movement on official record numbers, plus the thousands of people more, potentially millions of people more, who are feeling a fire in their soul to stand up and to live boldly for Christ. I think we're going to see a flood wave of young people standing up, living boldly for Christ, and I think your future marriage is on its way because I think people are coming into alignment with the calling that God has on their lives. And I think that's going to impact the way that this culture changes as far as dating, as far as pursuing godly relationships. And I think that's going to impact you and me. So I just wanted to share this encouragement and yeah, keep praying. Pray bold prayers. Get your girlfriends together, your guy friends, whoever you are. Pray for your own life to be impacted, but pray for your future spouse as well. Or the future spouse of somebody that you know is waiting for marriage. That's really helpful as well too. All right, God bless. Love you all. I will see you again next week. Bye.